Okay, Lisa, you're on.
Thank you, Cecilia. There we go, ready to launch. I'd like to call to order the October 20th, 2021 special meeting of San Clemente Human Affairs Committee. Our business is do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll do the roll call. Would someone like to lead the pledge?
I'll do it.
Thank you, Bill.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, so I'd like to do a roll call. Vice Chair Thomas Olds.
Yeah, I'm here.
Excellent. Committee Member Rosemary Salas.
Here.
Committee Member Sherry Grace.
Here.
Committee Member Michelle Brooks.
Here.
Committee Member Bill Kratinger.
Here.
Committee Member Miss Nina.
Here I am.
Excellent. There you are. Good. Everybody present and accounted for. I'd like to share with everyone. Oh, first of all, we'd like to approve our minutes, item 4A on the agenda of October 12th, 2021, our regular meeting of the Human Affairs Committee. I move to approve the minutes of the October.
Second.
Do I have a second? Thank you,
I
Sherry.
have a second.
And then you need to vote on that, Lisa.
Aye.
Yes. Tom?
Yes, here. And
I vote aye. Rosemary?
Aye.
Sherry?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Nina?
Aye.
Great. The minutes are approved from the October 12th, 2021 regular meeting of the Human Affairs Committee. Now to item 5A, which will take the lion's share of our time today. I will make every effort to keep this as efficient and as productive as possible. We are going to go through all of the subgroup work that has been done to contribute to our Human Affairs Committee annual work plan for the years 2021, 2022. And what I would like to do, I have them right in front of me. I hope you all had a moment to review some of the good work that the subcommittees have done. You know, this was a lot of time and energy, a lot of meetings on the weekends, nights, etc. We very much appreciate it. So I'd like to go through each subgroup and then have potentially one person from the subgroup present the subgroup's items. And then we need to prioritize, prior to leaving that subgroup's work, we need to prioritize in order of importance each of the items that are proposed. Because when we take a look at all of the subgroups, there may be some that can be combined, and we probably need to winnow it down to 2 or 3 priorities per subgroup, just based on bandwidth, right? We're meeting bi-monthly, we're having special meetings as you said, but there's only a certain amount that we can accomplish as a group. So I would ask you all to be mindful of what you feel would be most impactful in terms of your priorities. Let's have discussion on each subgroup's work, then we'll end that discussion. And what I propose is that we vote before we leave each subgroup's work. We vote on the items. And then that can all be summarized by Janet. Sorry, Janet. Or, you know what, Bill, I'm going to ask about this. Janet, is it permissible for, as we go through and do the voting on each of the proposed project names, and we come to a consensus as a committee, for Bill to then compile the final items into a polished work plan? Would that be permissible?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Excellent. I want to.
And then, hi, this is Cecilia Gallardo Daly. Just to clarify one thing,
Yes.
when that compilation of the work plan is done after, all of your input and after you voted on it, and if Bill's gonna, do the final compilation, he will give that to Janet, and the staff prepares a report to council, and we attach your work plan to it. So you guys don't
Excellent.
have to do any of that heavy lifting to get it agendized and get it distributed to the council on the agenda.
And then on the November 2nd agenda, the plan is I will present the agreed upon work plan to City Council. And we've already discussed that our Human Affairs Committee members, if at all possible, will be in attendance at that meeting so that we can address any questions or enter into any discussion as appropriate.
Mhm.
Okay. So why don't we start with, and I just,
Lisa,
yes,
sorry, can I interrupt just for a sec? I don't know if it's my connection is really bad, but it's really hard to hear even just like a fluid sentence. I don't know, maybe we all could mute when we're not speaking to eliminate background noise. Is that allowed, or
yes.
the rest of us? I mean, it's a bad connection. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think you want me to mute because then we won't be able to do anything. And Bill, do you mind? I just volunteered you for that because you're great with your computer skills. Do you mind?
Not at all.
I'll
And
tally.
we'll have an opportunity before we close to kind of check my work, and we should be fine.
Excellent. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, we'll definitely go back through our subgroups work plans and discuss what the agreed upon priorities are in each subgroup prior to closing our meeting today. Okay. Alrighty, and then Bill, as we're going through, if you need any clarification or there's any questions, please, everybody, let's make this interactive, a robust discussion. And, there has been so much work put into this. I know there's a lot of passion, a lot of enthusiasm. So without any further delay, let's jump into it. So the first subgroup to discuss is the Homelessness Research and Investigation Subgroup.
Lisa,
Yes.
do you mind if we start with what is at the top of the list that Janet sent us and that is posted to the website? It looks like the first one on that is senior issues and elder care.
It was, and the reason that I rearranged, Bill, was by virtue of some people having a hard stop at a certain time.
Oh, okay. That is going to kind of break my numbering scheme for keeping track, but I will adapt to what you need.
Thanks, Bill. You know what we can do? We're going to do homelessness research and housing policy, and then we'll go back up to the top of your list and we'll do everything in order. Is that permissible?
It makes no difference. I've already tweaked it to a way that'll work.
Okay, excellent. I like somebody that can be responsive. All righty. Flexible on the fly. So here we go. The first subgroup work plan that we're going to discuss is the Homelessness Research and Investigation Subgroup. Who would like to present the work on that subgroup? One of the members.
I can do that. It looks like the first one on that is best practices. And if I'm not mistaken, this is something that is kind of held over from the previous joint committee. The purpose of that is to identify best practices that other jurisdictions are using to address their local homelessness challenges. The work group will look at this from a perspective of prevention, mitigation, and resolution. The goals are to identify best practices in other jurisdictions and to advise council on the applicability of those practices in San Clemente. For deliverables, at the conclusion of the project, the work group will provide a report with information on practices researched to City Council for further action. The estimated cost is minimal, and this may be something that's already kind of included in the city budget. This is marked as a new project because I guess it is new because last year it was with the joint committee, so it's new to our committee. And did you want me to go through each item and then kind of vote on them as a block?
Once you go through each item, Bill, I'm going to take each item separately.
Very good. I'll continue.
Yeah, because we're going to need to prioritize, because we're not going to be able to have all of our subgroups with every single deliverable, because that'll be, I think, just rough count, 21 deliverables. And that's just a rough count. It's slightly more than that, but that's a lot for
It is.
we have assembled. So if you don't mind moving on.
Yeah, I'll continue. Next up,
Yeah.
Next on the list is updating the resource registry. This is also kind of a continuation of the prior joint committee's work. They put together this resource registry. We would update it and flesh it out with summaries, maybe contact information. And that basically would be the deliverable. That has minimal, if any, cost. The only cost, I guess, would be staff time, updating the website, and maybe helping compile any data that we need. The third item is another item that was on the previous joint committee's work plan. Its title is Overall Homeless Strategy. The purpose is, as the subject of homelessness was assigned to the Human Affairs Committee in light of the dissolution of the Joint Homelessness Subcommittee, the Human Affairs Committee will continue this project, which was part of the joint committee's work plan. The goals are leveraging data to identify material gaps in the city's current approach to addressing homelessness, understanding and identifying the legal requirement the city is subject to, and identifying areas that can be improved to reduce the likelihood and severity of related litigation, with advice from the city's attorney and the city's prosecutor. To advise council on how best to re-enable enforcement of the city's public camping related ordinances, and to coordinate a joint study session with the Public Safety Committee to review PERT and CAT programs. For deliverables, we have that the committee will, at the conclusion of this project, furnish a report or proposal to City Council with our findings and policy advice. This cost is anticipated to be less than $5,000, consisting of staff time assisting the committee in its review of statutory and common law-based requirements and restrictions. And I believe this is the last one. Project name is to develop quick resource microsites with information on regional resources. In order to help residents and staff better leverage available resources and to reduce inefficiency and discontentment caused by people approaching the incorrect resources with issues, the homelessness work group will utilize the resource list developed by the joint committee, updated by the current homelessness work group, and develop mobile-friendly microsites with information on resources, contacts, and if that, then this style guides, which will be designed to be easily shared on social media and used on mobile platforms. The cost is estimated to be low. The committee expects to be able to develop the mobile-friendly microsites at no cost. And that's because I'll do it. And that is it for the homelessness work group items.
Okay. I'm going to do a round robin and take comments on any of these items, but I just like to discuss the microsites concept very briefly, just to give a little bit of color to the remainder of the committee. We have so many resources to serve Orange County homeless folks that people are unaware of. And we see people on the streets, we see, families, there may be veterans, there may be, abused women, and we have a Homeward Bound program. There are existing programs right now that people don't know how to access, or they don't know what the resources are. They say, gosh, I'm hungry and I need to feed my kids. How can I do that? Or, I'm afraid I have to leave an abusive situation, but where would I go? So there's such a, rainbow of different circumstances. And there are a number of different existing resources, but it's not readily available. And sometimes going, to the city website is getting lost down the rabbit hole for Alice in Wonderland. So if we make something very user friendly, and what Bill and I and our subgroup have talked about is making microsites for each resource available, a description, even going so far as a click to call. So for people that are just, or accessing this on their phones, not everybody has a laptop or a desktop, what have you. So, or an iPad, so they can use the mobile resource right on their phone and click to call for help. And that includes the non-emergency number for the sheriff for a welfare check. Just, the possibilities here are limitless, but I'm really passionate about this project based on the fact that, as I said, there are lots of resources available that, are the best kept secret in San Clemente. So that's my passion project out of all of these. Well, I do believe that they all have merit in their own way, shape, and form. So I would encourage you to support that.
And I'll just say that the second item, if I may, Lisa, updating that
Yes.
resource registry
Mhm.
is kind of part and parcel. It wouldn't make any sense to do the microsites without updating that resource registry.
One feeds
So-
into the other. You're precisely
Exactly.
right. You're precisely right. So we can even combine those into one, Bill, because they do flow off of each other, right?
I think they have, like, the first one has merit regardless of whether we do the second one. The second one is kind of contingent on the first one. So
Sure.
for that reason, I think it makes sense to leave them separate. Ultimately, council may axe one and not the other, right?
Fair enough.
So if the committee approves both, I think that's how we should put it through. That way we're not risking updating the registry if they decide they don't want microsites, for example.
Good point. All right. So why don't we open up discussion to the first project that was named in the summary, which is best practices addressing homelessness. Does anyone have any comments or questions on that?
I like the idea of updating the whole registry because many times when there's resource books, the resources are outdated or no longer valid. So I think that's a great idea to
Good.
do that.
Good. Okay. Does anybody else have any comments on those two items before we move on to the best practices addressing homelessness?
The implications of what's going on with the state of California and mandates that might be attributed or directed towards San Clemente might be something that would be important from the government affairs committee, which we're supposed to review this stuff because it might be included in this budget. A lot of the homelessness is really a function of what the state of California is putting upon the rest of the state. And having some sort of an approach to dealing with this, either legally or representationally to deal with this, because the housing bills, from what I can see, are going to limit single family homes and push for multi unit type facilities everywhere. And there's going to be an issue here that is going to affect San Clemente potentially, although maybe not. I mean, it's probably a lot more effective to other communities, but without even mentioning the implications of the state, I think that the report might be benefited by saying something about that, or is assigning some sort of function to that, getting that taken care of. And I don't know if that's a government affairs committee. I don't know, Bill,
Yeah, Tom, it sounds like you're talking about the legislative review work group.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
didn't actually put together, and it's kind of a sidebar on the homelessness work group items here, but the legislative review work group did not propose any specific work plan items. We may just review what comes out of Sacramento and kind of report that to the committee as appropriate. So, Janet, Cecilia, do you believe that warrants a work plan item, or is that something that we should be okay to just do as the kind of necessities require?
Hi, this is Janet. I don't think it would warrant a work plan item. I wouldn't know what the deliverable would be.
Exactly.
So it's probably best to just update the committee.
Okay, so Tom, it sounds like we don't need a work plan item to be able to
Sounds
do
good.
that. So we'll stay the course.
Got it.
Circling back, this best practices item that we are trying to work on, there's a lot of overlap with the overall homeless strategy. And how I think that happened, Lisa, is maybe one was pulled from the prior year Human Affairs Committee and the other was pulled
Good point.
from the Homelessness Joint Committee.
Mhm.
So if we are to propose a work plan, My thoughts are that maybe we strip out, where is it? I think most things in best practices, well, I don't know. There's some things that are in best practices that are not in. Yeah, actually, overall strategy doesn't really include best practices, does it?
No, I don't
It's
see
kind
it.
of, yeah, I think we're probably okay to
I think
go
we can
forward
leave
with
it
all
there,
of them.
Bill.
Yeah, looking closer, I agree. It's different enough that I think for my lot, I think these are all worth doing, and I don't think they create a tremendous burden on our committee or the work group to deliver it. So,
Excellent.
are we
Does
ready to vote?
anybody else have any additional comments before we take a vote on this?
I just have a question.
I think that, oh, go ahead, Sherry.
Sorry, before voting, so, I mean, is it potentially, could we approve all of these or just a
Yes.
portion of these? Okay, so if we all agree that we wanted all of them to go to them, we're okay with that. But
Yes.
if there's some of them that we don't think we want to send to council, then we can say no. So I guess I was going at, should we vote at the end or should we vote as we go? So this makes sense to vote as we go if we can vote for.
I think we'll lose track of what our thoughts are on each of the items.
Okay.
We don't vote as, that's why I thought I'd take it in each group.
Okay.
We may not need to do a formal vote, but I guess we could do like just a straw poll, and then at the end, if we could vote on all of it, that'd be one vote.
So what I'd like to do, Bill, to your point, is I'm taking notes on each of the areas that the committee gives a thumbs up to, the majority committee gives thumbs up to. Then at the conclusion, we'll do a summary of all of them and see if we need to snip it a little bit. Let's just see, what the whole scope will be in context once we go through each of the subgroup work plans. Okay, and then we can determine, what's a must-have, what's a nice-to-have, should bandwidth permit, or something of that nature. Does that sound fair?
Oh yeah, and if anything we don't get to, it'd just be a matter of not getting to it.
Precisely.
So, no harm done.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is for each project name, I'm going to say the project name, and I'm going to go around and do a quick poll of each person to capture the vote, yay or nay. Alrighty. So for best practices addressing homelessness, yay or nay?
Lisa, I'm
Wait,
sorry.
sir.
Who did you call on?
Tom?
Yes, yeah, yay.
Okay, thank you. Rosemary?
Rosemary, you're muted.
Thumbs up or unmute, Rosemary. You need to unmute.
Yes.
Thank you. Sherry?
Yes.
Bill?
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Nina?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. So that's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. The second project name, updating the resource registry. Tom?
Yes, yay.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Nina?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Another unanimous vote. I like it when a plan comes together. All righty. And then the overall homeless strategy.
Yay.
Yay, thank you. Rosemary?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes.
Nina?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
So I'm also a yes, but identifying the legal requirements with a caveat. Identifying the legal requirements that the city is constrained by, I think is outside the scope of what we do.
Lisa, I don't think it's outside the scope because homelessness is within our scope. It's certainly beyond any of our expertise, which is why I believe this item has the largest budgeted cost, because we would probably need to work with the city attorney and the city prosecutor like we discussed when we put this one together, to
So we'll
make sure we
move it
identify this.
forward. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll vote aye, and then we'll move it forward, Bill, and we'll see what council comes back to us with. How does that sound?
I think that's the best course of action.
Good. Okay. So that passes unanimously. And then the last one is doing the mobile microsites, outlining all the resources. Quick and easy. Quick and easy. Tom,
Yes.
thank you. Rosemary,
Yes.
Sherry,
Yes.
thank you. Bill,
Yes.
Nina,
Love it. Yes.
thank you. Thank you for the, Michelle.
Yes.
Good. And I'm a yes as well. All right. Well, thank you all. That was well done. All righty. Thank you for everybody that put work into the plan. The next item I'd like to discuss is, or the subgroups work that were for discussion is the Housing Policy and Funding Sources Investigation Subgroup. Who would like to present those projects on behalf of that committee?
I'm on that one also. Nina,
I don't
unless
mean
you'd rather
committee,
do
I
it.
mean subgroup, sorry, subgroup.
Nina and Rosemary are on that with me. Do you guys mind if I take it?
I think you have the best handle on it, Bill.
All right. We have only 2 items for this work group. The first is a current affordable / workforce housing policy review. The purpose is in order to better enable San Clemente to meet the affordable housing needs of its working residents. The Housing Policy Work Group will review current city policies, such as the inclusionary housing policy, policies at similar cities, statistics, housing stock, and the current housing element, as well as seek input from residents and stakeholders. The goal is to deliver an objective assessment of current affordable housing policy items to better enable City Council to effectively meet residents' needs. The deliverables is that the work group will then work with staff to draft a report and presentation for the public and for City Council with recommendations for the inclusionary housing policy and, if applicable, other affordable / workforce housing policy items. The estimated cost for this item, despite its perhaps perceived complexity, is minimal because the city already hired a consultant earlier this year. We have their report. Other resources are already publicly available. Being that this is the year that we are submitting the housing element, we're uniquely well equipped with data that's already available to kind of conduct this policy review.
So just point of clarification, is this in addition to what's already been submitted and proposed in the existing housing element that the city submitted?
This is not anything that would, well, some of the policies that we would look at are a very small part of the housing element, but it's a policy review. So everything that we look at would already exist. It's a policy review.
So I have a question about seeking input from residents and stakeholders. Who are the residents and who are the stakeholders, and how are you going to seek input?
Residents are residents of the city. I didn't.
Well, I
guess in the broadest term,
I know that, but I mean,
right.
Do you envision some sort of a questionnaire going out, or is this getting 4 of your neighbors together, or what does that look like and feel like? I guess I'm just asking.
That'll depend on what resources we have available as a committee and as a work group. But there's infinite ways to gather input. We can do it on social media. We can pick out certain people who have particular expertise or experience in housing policy and pick their minds. Stakeholders would be, I mean, there's a lot of overlap there, certainly, right? But potential stakeholders in a affordable housing policy review might be some of the nonprofit developers in the area, for example, and we have contacts with them. Does that clarify? I'm not envisioning any specific survey or anything like that.
Well,
just a more organic process.
As far as stakeholders go, low-income housing developers have motive for the recommendation. They are for-profit organizations. So if you stand to make a profit by building very low income or low income housing, I'm wondering how unbiased is that input? Or, what's the quality of that input?
Everyone has bias.
a perfect example,
Residents will have
Bill.
bias. I think it makes sense just to hear them. We're smart enough to discern facts from obvious, pushing of an agenda. So that would
But
be
we
our
all have
job to suss it
we all
out.
have different belief systems. For example, the Jamboree housing study with United Way that's been, quoted multiple times has a point in time count of homeless of close to 100. When Carly came and presented to us, it was far lower than that, and approached maybe 60. So things like that, it's like, well, what number are we really using and how's this validated?
Well, the point in time count is actually a federal program. It's not done by the UCI Jamboree study. They did kind of deeper interviews. So, and the point in time is going to be done again very soon. It's a regular event. And I don't actually know if we need to rely on that point in time count for anything in that particular item anyway.
It's just been quoted multiple times and the numbers vary widely. So I was just using that as an example.
I didn't realize that once we submit our plans, it's 8 years. So I'm not sure any of this stuff is even going to be valid because things are going to change in 8 years. So nothing's going to get done for 8 years. So I'm not sure if this is even going to be worth our time. Whereas there's so many other things we want to do. It may be better for us to spend time on other stuff.
Well, the housing policy work group just has this and one other item. So I don't think we're too overburdened. And the housing element report to housing and community development, hopefully we'll be back on an 8-year cycle. We've been on a 4-year cycle lately, but the city is not prevented from adjusting policies that are in the housing element. It's basically a report of the city's plan and the resources it has to do what we need to do on housing. So, and if I'm not mistaken, I understand that the inclusionary housing policy is coming back to council no later than 2023, and hopefully sooner. I know Councilman Noblock wanted it brought back before the housing element was approved, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, these the things that we are looking at, the council can move on them at any time. They're not obliged to wait until another housing element is due.
Okay. So does anyone else have any comments on that before we move on? Okay. So the next project, new affordable workforce housing policy research. Bill, you want to touch on that for us?
Yes, I do. So in contrast to the previous item, which is a review of the effectiveness of current policies, this item is basically just the other side of that. What are we not doing right now that maybe we should be doing, or what could we potentially do? So the goal of this item, well, let me read what we have here before I start going extemporaneous here. The purpose is to research and develop new affordable housing policy options tailored to the unique circumstances and requirements of San Clemente and her residents. The goals are to identify innovative options that City Council can consider to address the shortage of affordable housing in San Clemente. The deliverable is that the Housing Policy Workgroup will develop a report and a presentation of their work for City Council. There's no cost for this item. It's just research done by workgroup members. And we would furnish that report toward the end of our committee year. It's a new item for the Human Affairs Committee. And one reason that I believe it is badly needed is because of how the city has kind of performed on that metric in recent years. Any questions before I proceed with the explanation there? This chart is, the middle column is the construction permits issued for housing units in the city. The bottom column is what the 5th RHNA cycle, which just ended, what the regional housing needs assessment said that San Clemente needed. The large column up at the top here, that's the 6th RHNA cycle allocated unit. And it's a lot. It's going to be a challenge for the city to meet it, but I know that the housing element does contain a plan to reach that number. So great job, staff, putting that together. But the area that I found most concerning was that you often hear that San Clemente's built out, and we are to a large degree, but we actually issued more building permits or permits for more units than the 5th cycle allocation said we needed. However, we did that building only a tiny fraction of the affordable housing that was needed, but building 225% of the recommended above moderate income market rate housing. So what that says to me and to a lot of other residents of the city is that the city can meet these targets, and some cities do. We can, we just aren't, because it's not getting any attention or there's no will to do it. So that's where these items come in. 1, to identify the shortcomings, and 2, well, and hopefully fix those shortcomings. And the second is to just give the city more tools on its tool belt to help meet these targets that we have.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
Bill, can I ask a question? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, our HNA, is that of new development, stuff to be built? That's what's allocated, or existing?
Well, when the 5th RHNA cycle numbers were put out, those units did not exist yet. The data in the middle column there, that is permits issued. It's an 8-year span of time, so presumably some of those permits resulted in buildings over those 8 years. Some of them maybe not yet, but it's just checking permits issued, is my understanding. So when, like for example, these 6th cycle RHNA allocated, these don't exist yet in probably any case, though it's possible maybe a couple do, probably not. And this is just what the city in its housing element needed to explain to HCD. Yes, we can, for example, change some zoning of different parcels to help meet this target. And that doesn't automatically change the zoning. Council still has to take all these items up. But basically, it proves to housing and community development that San Clemente has at least a path to meeting those targets. That's what the housing element broadly does.
Because the extremely and very low blue looks equivalent to the above moderate in the 6 RHNA, right? They look about the same size.
Are you saying this? Can you see my cursor? I don't know if you can. I'll try to point at it maybe.
Can't see it.
This and no, you said the above moderate, right? For the 5th, so the yellow part on the bottom. You're muted, Michelle.
Sorry. The 6 RHNA, the top row, the blue to me looks equivalent to the gold.
The gold at the bottom.
So,
it looks a little different to me, but it's
row.
close. Right. So this top.
So is that what it's saying?
Low. I mean, they're not quite equal. They're
Is that
close.
what this is?
I don't know that it's saying anything quite like that. I guess all that this top bar does is it tells us what the current regional housing needs assessment numbers are for San Clemente. They actually don't seem to. Previous performance doesn't seem to have a tremendous bearing on it. It might a little bit, but I don't think that they mean anything other than what they just literally mean.
Okay.
And the specific numbers, we have them. They're available, and we can review them later on if you'd like. I can pull them up now, actually, if you want. But
I think
this is all in
No,
housing element.
it's fine. I see it.
in
I
the
was just
concern
confused.
for
Okay.
time, I would just encourage us not to
Yeah.
get too granular. Just to have enough of an understanding of each of the project names so that we can make an educated decision. And then we can really dig into the granularity at a later time. Just to,
Didn't council turn down doing the additional numbers? I thought that was, we voted, it was 3-2.
Council voted to actually reduce the number of affordable units required under the inclusionary housing policy and to change the in lieu formula, the in lieu fee formula. But that item was defeated at the second reading and it was not made an ordinance for San Clemente. Here's an example of a city that has actually exceeded its regional housing needs assessments. They got everything permitted that their low-income residents needed, and then some. And then by way of contrast, more than 3/4 of San Clemente developments were above moderate income market rate, and our low-income residents were very sadly left behind.
I guess what Rosemary, I don't want to put words into your mouth, is what you're saying. This has already been proposed, voted on, and the numbers were reduced. So why are we doing
Right. Yeah, this is, I feel like this is going to want to be these things where the council's going to reject it. We want to get as much as we can approved that we can work on. I mean, because again, we've submitted our plan and this almost falls under the housing department, doesn't it?
Good point.
This is
When we have a housing department, that's what they do. So.
well, right. Maybe I'm not sure what housing department we might have at the city level, but if we do, I think they would benefit from the work that this work group could do based on their recent performance. Right? I understand. I mean, really, the policy review portion, it depends on there being existing policies. So
Well, I think the point is that it's been reviewed, it's been looked at by council, and they rejected it and reduced the numbers. So are you saying you want to have one more bite of the apple and hope that they change their thinking, or maybe you could elucidate
yeah,
us
I'd be happy
for wanting to do this. Okay.
Thank you. City Council did have the inclusionary housing policy on their agenda this year. It was at the Planning Commission for review. That's how they came up with the change to the in lieu fee formula. Planning Commission pushed it through to council with the in lieu fee formula change, but no change to the percentages. Council kind of ignored at least half of the staff recommendation. They ignored their consultant and basically all of the residents that made comments at that time. There was one BIA representative who made a different comment, but the council and the Planning Commission didn't really incorporate any resident feedback like I and many others think they probably should have. And the consultant's data was quite compelling. And the work group has that EPS report. And I don't know if the other members have reviewed it, but it's quite interesting.
So Bill, I guess the point is, what do you think will be different this time around?
Oh, thank you for asking. What I hope will be different this time is that
because I mean,
San
if
Clemente
it's
City Council,
and they said no, why are we presenting it again?
Yeah, why are we doing that?
right? Well, at that time, our council did not have the benefit of input from their Human Affairs Committee. I'd like to furnish them that benefit, and we'll follow the data and see where it lies, see where it takes us.
Okay. I have a thorough understanding of what you're proposing, Bill. Why don't we, unless anyone else has any other comments, why don't we go ahead and vote on each of the projects? Is that amenable to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, thanks, Nina. Alrighty. The first one, current affordable workforce housing policy review. So we either want an aye or a nay. Tom?
Nay.
Okay. Rosemary?
No.
Bill,
I'm a yes.
Nina,
Yes.
Sherry,
So,
Michelle,
Yes.
so I'm the deciding vote, and I vote.
If I may, it's the work groups all, not only the ones I was involved in, but all of the work groups put substantial time and effort into this. And I think that if anybody's on the fence at all about something that a work group has put forward, we owe it to each other to respect the effort that fellow committee members have put in. Like, even if there's things that I'm not excited about or knowledgeable about, if the work group put it forward, I trust their judgment. And
I don't
plan to
think
support
that's
those
the
items.
issue, Bill. I think people are just concerned because it's gone before council before, but I guess I'm willing just to see what they say.
Thank you. Yeah, and you voted yes on that. So I appreciate it. And like the inclusionary housing policy is not under our jurisdiction. We're an advisory committee. They don't have our advice on it. They didn't before. I'd like them to in the future. So that's what that first item is about.
Well, I'm the deciding vote. And Bill, to your point, I'm going to vote no on this one, but yes on the next one. Because I think the scale is vast. The work that's going to be required is vast. And if there's a focus area, and I completely respect the work of the subgroups, but again, I think it's a bandwidth issue, and so I'm going to vote no on this one.
All right. If you're ready to move on to the next one, we can go there.
Let's do that. Okay, new affordable workforce housing policy research. Tom, yay or nay?
Yay.
Thank you. I'm a yes. Rosemary?
Can you read that one again? I'm sorry.
Lisa, would you like me to read it?
Yes, please, Bill. Thank you.
The project name is New Affordable / Workforce Housing Policy Research. The purpose is to research and develop new affordable housing policy options tailored to the unique circumstances and requirements of San Clemente and her residents. The goals are to identify innovative options that City Council can consider to address the shortage of affordable housing in San Clemente. The deliverables will be that we furnish a report and presentation of our work for City Council.
Okay, I'm going to be a no because I just feel like council, they've already made their decision.
I don't know how they could have made a decision on things that they don't have yet. Just saying.
Well, this is a new approach, Bill.
Mhm.
And I think we need to respect everybody's vote.
Mhm.
I think you're proposing taking sort of a new approach and fresh eyes on the issue. So for those that support that, they'll vote yay, and for those who don't, they'll vote nay. So Bill, what's your vote?
I'm a yay on this.
Thank you. Nina?
I vote a yes on this.
Thank you. Sherry?
I'm a nay.
Okay. Michelle?
I'm a yes.
Thank you. So Bill, this one's a go
All right.
with a 5-2 vote.
To what section are we going next?
Let me just put this over in my completed pile and I will tell you. So this one didn't have a title. On the top line, it says items for consideration from approved FY 2021.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the carryover items, Bill, if I'm not mistaken.
That is what it is. Yes, and you asked
Excellent.
me to review those
Indeed.
at the last meeting. So
Not to make this a monograph, but please move forward with it on this one.
you got it.
Thank you.
The first one is San Clemente High School Humanitarian Award and Mentoring. The purpose is, oh, actually it's worded a little funny, but working with San Clemente High School administration, identify San Clemente High School juniors who have performed significant community service projects. The goal is to recognition of outstanding effort by San Clemente High School students engaged in significant community service projects. For deliverables, we have selected students will be presented a certificate at an appropriate city council meeting, and the Human Affairs Committee will select from among its members an appropriate member for mentorship during a selected student's senior year. That mentor will also provide a letter or letters of recommendation for college admission purposes. There's no cost for this program other than, I suppose, printing a certificate for those students. Those of us that watch council meetings may recall one of these awards recently issued. It was a kind of a charming event, and it's nice for city council to have something nice to talk about and recognize some young people. This is something that is carried over from the previous committee, and it's something that I understand has been done for a couple of years, and I expect a lot of people would like to see it continue.
Thank you, Bill.
Shall I go to the next one?
Yes, please.
Excuse me, this is Janet. Bill, may I, on these two items, council approved funding them through the American Rescue Plan funds. So on August 17th of 2021, in the minutes, you'll see where they're funding the social service grants from that funding. So.
Oh, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, okay, that's interesting. Now so we may need to make everyone some kind of on-the-fly changes to these work items.
So actually, these two aren't needed because they funded the current fiscal year, and they're funding the next fiscal year with these funds.
Okay. Now
So let's
they
go back
also,
those two.
well, they killed, hang on just a second though. They did pull back the general funds social service grants for 2 budget years. So is there any plan to put that line back the way it was in 2019, where it would not be linked to COVID related funding? Or are they kind of putting all of that on the COVID? Because that changes what we can review and discuss as a potential recipients.
Yeah.
And in fact, we may not even be able to do that at all if they're all COVID linked. And yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, the second item is restoring the budget from the current fiscal year. And they've approved to fund that with the American Rescue Plan funds. And then they've also, so it looks like the first item was the next fiscal year.
Right. The top item on this page here, it's page 15 of the packet that was sent out. That is, I think, pretty much exactly what was done prior to 2019, prior to the 2019-2020 budget year. And those were city funds that I happened to be at one of the meetings where these were reviewed, and applications were looked at. And there were 2 buckets of money. One was restricted to certain subjects, the other to other subjects.
Actually, one was CDBG funding and one was general fund funding.
Right.
So,
right. So the CDBG was one bucket, and then the general was the other. Do we not have a general fund?
No, in fact, council approved to fund what used to be funded by the general fund with the American Rescue Plan funds for this fiscal year and next fiscal year. So, yeah.
How do we adapt this so that the Human Affairs Committee is involved in selecting the applicants the way that they were
there's going to be 2
before?
members of the Human Affairs Committee that will be appointed to the committee that reviews the grants.
Okay, that's consistent, I think, with how things were before, right?
Correct.
So we actually do not have a work plan item that jives with that, to my knowledge.
Correct. And last year, if you look at the council minutes, is restoring the deleted general fund grants was part of the work plan initially when it went to council, but council had that part removed before they approved the work plan.
Okay. And then they went and restored it from the American Rescue Plan funds. Is that correct?
That's the plan, but,
Okay.
yeah, the NOFA hasn't went out yet for this year, for those funds. The notice
Okay.
of funding availability.
But I certainly expect it's coming, so that's good. That'll be fine. Do those funds come with any strings attached? Are we limited to COVID-related things, or do we have the normal latitude we might have with general funds?
You know, we'd have to look at the criteria from that funding source before we can definitively answer that.
Okay.
There might be a COVID nexus, but you know, we don't know.
COVID is huge. I don't think it'll be hard to find a COVID nexus to a lot of things. So that's okay. But I wonder do we need a work plan item to designate 2 members for that?
No, that's in a policy already. That's a city policy. Yes.
Okay.
So does
Very
council
good.
approach us and identify the 2 members, or how does that work, Janet?
You would nominate them as the chair. You could ask for the 2 members to sit on the committee. When? I'm sorry.
Yes. When should we do that?
Well, normally the grants applications are received in January. So I believe in February timeframe is when we would get the applicants and then schedule the time for the committee to meet. And that would be the time then that you would pick within your Human Affairs Committee, the 2 representatives.
Thank you, Janet.
Welcome.
That's in here in the work plan item. That is not going to even be in the actual work plan that we put forward. But
Right.
yeah,
Correct.
the time frame, right? Okay. So
Yeah, because it
sounds-
said February. Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay,
So
so
I
Bill,
guess I
then
don't need
it's
to read
only
the
the
next
one
one.
item, right?
Right. I guess I don't need to read the next one at all. And this is something that's kind of, I guess we only have one item really then.
Yes. So
Okay, very good. Thank
may
you
I
so much,
take that?
Janet, for helping me better understand kind of where those things were. It was not intuitive to me looking
You're
at the
welcome.
budget.
And if you have any further questions on all that, just ask me.
You got
Thank you, Janet. Okay, so we'll work on that next year, those 2 grants. So we have one item from the 2021 work plan, and that is the San Clemente High School Humanitarian Award and Mentoring. Let's take a round robin vote. Tom?
Yay.
Thank you. Rosemary?
Yes.
Oh, I'm a yes. Bill?
I mean, yes.
Thank you. Nina?
Yes.
Thank you. Sherry?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, it's a pat. We unanimously voted that in. Wonderful. All righty. So now I'd like to discuss both of these together because there may be some overlap. So the first subgroup is grade 6 through 12 issues and programs. And then we'll go through the young adult issues and programs and see whether there's any overlap there. There may not be, but there may be some synergies. So who would like to take on presenting the grade 6 through 12 issues and programs subgroup work from your subgroup committee or subgroup?
You wanna take
I
it,
don't,
Rosemary?
can someone read it? I don't have the stuff in front of me.
I'll read it for you.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is a mentorship program for grade 6 through 12, a day in the life. The purpose and goals and deliverables of the project, middle school, high school mentorship program with local businesses where the student shadows and is mentored by local business owner for a day or a week as appropriate. So many kids don't have a focus. This will allow for a mentor to take them under their wing and something they may be interested in and see that they can have a bright future. It will allow them to look at areas they may be interested in as a potential profession later on. The estimated project cost of this is minimal, as local business owners would volunteer their time. And the project timeline is, as soon as possible. And the resources needed might be advertising and promoting the program on the city website and social media to have business owners volunteer to participate in the program. So that's the first one. And then the second one is every 15 minutes, drunk driving DUI simulation program. So the purpose, goals, and deliverables of this is a 2-day program focusing on high school students, challenging them to focus on drinking, drugging, personal safety, texting while driving, and the responsibility of making mature decisions and the impact these decisions have on family and friends. Real life simulation, Orange County Fire Department, California Highway Patrol, and Orange County Sheriff's Department work in partnership with the school. Cars are provided by Donovan's Tow Company, and it's coordinated with San Clemente High School and ASB. It provides a real life experience without the real life risk or loss of life and additional consequences. So the estimated project cost is to be determined. It's administered by the California Highway Patrol and funded through a grant from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. The simulation and entire experience is filmed, and a grant is paid upon submission of the film. So if cost is involved, is it included in the city budget? No, it's not. But I believe, let me go into the timeline. Grants open up October 1st, 2021. So we would need to submit the application immediately. If we receive the grant, the program will occur in spring of 2022. If the grants are already taken, we would submit our application on October 1st, 2022. So I think for clarification, Rosemary, would there be any financial impact that we would have to ask from the city for this in addition to the grant?
There is, I'm waiting, the highway patrolman that puts this on is on vacation until like the beginning of, I have a call into him. He's on vacation until, well, for 2 more weeks. So I know there's some costs. I spoke with Santa Margarita Catholic High School, and the gentleman there that, that filmed it, there's a cost with that, but he's the one that coordinates everything. And he said he'd be willing to do it for us. And then that video can also be used, like you could be using it into the grade school or the junior high. I envisioned also kind of using that, like maybe back to school night or whatever, and get the parents involved in the junior high level and have them look at it. And even in the high school level, whatever, they have programs where you can get the parents involved so they can see some of this stuff too. I'm just waiting to get all the costs, but I know there's a grant, and that is, once we have the video, that's reimbursed to us once the video is produced to the highway patrol.
So it sounds like grants have already opened.
Right.
October, Rosemary, we don't know the status whether or not.
Right. Until we apply. Yeah. Until we apply, we won't know. And it may not be, maybe they have X amount of grants, and once they're taken, then they're gone. And then we would have to apply next fall.
Okay. And then if we apply next fall, we can still include it in our plan.
Right.
Apply next fall, then the actual every 15 minutes project would be done in spring of 2023.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't believe San Clemente High School has ever had this.
Normally, because of the cost, it's done by more the private schools. That's where I feel like, even if it's say $4,000 or $5,000, I think it would be a huge bang for our buck for the city to put this on, because again, we can incorporate it even down to the junior high level, which from what I hear, the drugs start there. The drink, that it starts at that level too. So, and that you got to get the parents involved,
So sounds like a very, very realistic, immersive experience. Like it's very compelling.
Very, very realistic. And the guy that I talked to from Santa Margarita High, he's got like all the connections, and he knows how to wire like the fire people when they're responding. And he goes into that, like the person that's being booked in jail, he goes in there and films that. So it's very, very realistic.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions on this before we do a round robin vote on it?
I'd like to make a suggestion, just because of the kind of the time constraints around the grant, and considering that if we miss it this year, next year's committee may similarly not be able to get the work plan approved before they can get a grant in. So can we Yeah, I see it. Actually, it's already there to expand that to 2022. But I wonder if we need to ask that that be a staff function, since there may not be committee people really ready to work at that point. And actually, a grant application might need to be done by staff anyway. Is that so? Maybe that's a question for Janet. Would staff handle the application process?
I don't believe so. And was the application due in October 2022? Is that what I was reading?
No.
No, the highway patrol offers X amount of dollars for this, for the state of California. So they have X amount of dollars. So they open it up October 1st and they hand out the money until the money is gone.
Got it. And that would be for this current work plan year. So,
Right.
okay.
Yes.
So this work plan goes until next July. Correct. So you're talking about next October applying for it. So perhaps it
Well, no, and we can apply right now. If we get it, we'll do it in the spring. If not, if the money's gone, then we'll carry it over till next.
Yeah. Yeah. And this wouldn't be a city staff grant that they'd be writing. Like this would be.
Who would apply for this?
Is that Stella?
Sorry, my dogs.
Not me.
Yeah, because I look at a lot of these other work plan items and it has like minimal staff time. So we'd have to look at how much that minimal staff time, when you add it all up, how much staff time is going to be required on a lot of these projects, because we're
Minimal.
exactly minimal. And we have a minimal staff, so.
There you go.
We are a lean city, to be sure. And I know the work group members are eager to do all the work that we can on these subjects. So
But I mean, I
wouldn't
would
worry too much
definitely
about
help
that.
as much as I could, but we couldn't be responsible for writing the grant and applying for the grant and all of that.
Rosemary,
I think we could probably figure it out.
Rosemary, if your dogs will let you answer, and I think they want there to be a dog affairs committee. And maybe the city can look at that later.
My door.
Oh, okay.
That's
Rosemary, do you know if there's any restriction on who can submit the grant application? Might it need to be someone from the high school? If it can be one of us, I think that's great. I just want to make sure that we are putting that action on the right party.
You know, until the highway
You don't-
patrol
oh, okay.
officer calls me back, I don't know. I
Okay.
believe one of us can do it.
That would be great. I guess that's the only question I had. And now here's a question for you, Janet. Do we need to wait until the work plan is approved before a member of the committee applies for that grant? I guess they can always apply
Yes,
for it and then not get, if we get it, we don't use it.
No, I think you need council direction on your work plan before you move forward on any items.
That's what I was thinking. Let's see
Yeah.
if council's okay with this. If they think this is a great idea, then we will jump in and it'll either be something we do this year or it goes to next year.
Correct. And I might want to mention that I know in a lot of grant applications, like you can partner up with other agencies and write a joint grant. So maybe you might want to look at the high school or something and maybe collectively go in together with the grant, or it's just a thought.
Okay.
So Rosemary, are the
Good
grants done by city or by just a general fund that they have that they hand out? Because
It's just a
General?
general fund that they hand out. Like they give one to Rancho Santa Margarita Catholic High School every 2 years. They do this every 2 years because they find it so effective. So it's just
but I
a
mean,
matter
like-
of who applies and they have
That's
X
for
amount
all
of
of-
money.
And that's for all of Orange County, or would that be South County, or, I mean,
It sounded
for
like it was a California highway
It's a
department thing,
California,
so statewide.
California.
it's all of California, okay.
Yes.
So, but we know probably nobody in San Clemente has applied, right?
From what I've seen, it seems to be the private schools doing it because the public schools are so strapped for money, is what it looks like.
You know what? The website says that grant applications are accepted from schools and organizations. So I guess if they consider the Human Affairs Committee an organization, maybe we can do it, but that
Well,
should
you're
be
not
looked
a
into and
nonprofit, so does it say nonprofit, Bill?
it doesn't say, I'll put it up here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. I'm looking at this area here. They provide mini grants to schools and organizations. So I'm thinking this might have to be done by, not knowing what they mean by organization, right? This may be something that maybe, should we tweak the work plan item to say, work with San Clemente High School to see if we can get a grant for this program? And maybe the city can support it to whatever degree is needed. It sounds like some funds need to be expanded and then they're reimbursed, right? So the
Right,
city
and
might
that's
be
where I
needed
feel
there.
like the city needs to approve it first before we go to San Clemente High.
Sure,
They
yeah,
do.
I agree, yeah. But that would be, it would then be the school though that has to apply for the grant.
I will work with
If
work
I'm
with the school to do that.
reading this right. This is the fellow, this public information officer is probably the person you're trying to get a hold of. So once he gets back to you, you can find out if, if they would accept it from the committee. But it might have to come from the school and the city. If it's approved, they can support it to whatever degree is needed.
Yeah,
How do
I
we
would
make a-
recommend, I'm sorry, this is Janet again. I would recommend maybe in your work plan saying that you will partner with the school in getting the grant or something to that extent, perhaps.
Again, would you add that in there, or do we need to resubmit that?
Well, this is a PDF, so I can't edit that.
No, not you, Bill.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I was asking Jen. Was that, Jen, is that something that you could amend for us, or do we have to redo it and send it to you?
I can change it. So, yeah, if you can just let me know what area to change. You could just send it to me in an email or something, Bill, what paragraph needs change, and I can put it in the actual work plan document.
I will make a note to do that for you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so let's move forward because people have a busy evening. All righty. So first item, project name, A Day in the Life. Let's do a round robin vote. Tom?
Yay.
I'm a yay. Rosemary?
Yes.
Thank you. Bill? Thank you. Nina?
Gotta find my
Definite
cursor on my
yes.
4 monitors.
Thank you. Sherry?
Yes.
Michelle, I don't know why we can't hear you.
I don't think she's on.
She said she's on as an attendee, but she can't hear us.
Oh, IT, can you bring her back in as a panelist?
There
Thank
she
you.
is.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. I couldn't get anyone to let me in because I tried to relog in because my connection's so bad. Anyway, I'm yes, I've been here the whole time.
So what's your vote on this issue?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, passes unanimously. The next one, every 15 minutes. Tom?
Hold on, I get distracted. What was the question again, please?
For the every 15 minutes, project, are you a yes or a no vote?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm a yes. Rosemary?
Yes.
Thank you. Bill?
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Nina?
Yes.
Thank you. Sherry?
Yes.
Thank you. Michelle?
Yes.
Thank you. Seven yeses, a unanimous vote. Thank you all so much. Okay, Nina, what work groups did you ask if we could cover right now?
I'd like to start with the young adults work group.
That was my next in my stack, so perfect.
Oh, well, that's good. Thank you very much.
Yes, sure.
And listening to the high school work group with the mentoring thing, ours is almost identical to that work group. What we came up with, addressing a different cohort of people, 20-somethings. I'll just read what we have. We call it San Clemente Mentors, and it's a work mentoring program involving local business people who are willing to mentor young adults who are living at home, newly out of college, or in a failure to launch mode, in need of support from the community to become productive members of society through the relationship of a mentor-mentee support group. our goal is to get to these young people before they give up or lose hope or turn to drugs or alcohol by providing them a purpose while they are still motivated and young enough to take hold of the hand being offered to them. As far as deliverables, what we were hoping is to reach out to community, business people and find those who would be willing to help to actually mentor people. It's more of a serious mentoring rather than a day or a week, but more what we're hoping to do ultimately would be to get a list of business people in trades and professionals and sales and create some type of a database and then begin to get the word out. We're basically looking at families in San Clemente whose kids have come back home. So now they have the typical Orange County scene with, kids, young adults who are not being able to get out on their own and maybe losing hope in light of all the financial constraints and everything else to break in. And so we would match up, say, for example, you have a kid who's, it has to do with whether he's interested in the trades or a profession or, psychology or real estate or landscaping, but we then match the kids with the mentors. What the mentors would get, what we'd like to do is to take an ad out in the San Clemente Times, advertising for business people to sign up as mentors. They would get the free help from these mentors, from the young adults. And then we would also begin to list the businesses, the free advertising they would get for their generosity and providing the time and the experience and the training and teaching to these young adults. So I think in a nutshell, unless Tom or Sherry, did I forget something or do you think we got it?
From my understanding, yeah, that's pretty much what we were talking about. I think for 6 to 12, it's some sort of mentoring program as well. But it's for the young adults, it's basically for job applications for those who have not really accepted or really embraced the educational experience that they're going through at San Clemente High School. And they need to get some sort of direction, which might focus them on a future that would be successful and benefit their families and the community. That's it.
Yeah, and I like part about if they got some advantages maybe with their advertising and we kind of coin that we are proud sponsors of the San Clemente Mentors Program. So that way the businesses kind of get their name out there as well. And I was talking when I was doing a tour of the high school for Logan, and they were saying that it would be so awesome if there was a trade still offered within the high school, because many times kids get out of school and some of them don't go to college and they really need some kind of a trade, right? And so if they're interested in something, I gave the example of my son's always on the computer and maybe someone one of the local computer, companies would mentor him into helping fix computers if that's what he's interested in, something like that. So it would take the effort that would be involved would be us actually going out and soliciting businesses. So that would be quite a undertaking, which I think we're up to if we could sell the program well enough.
Yep.
And then I'd love to get feedback.
Yeah, one thing I'd add into this is that if the council approves this particular project, having an intermediary with the city or some employee, kind of like the housing, that lady does the housing, the homeless housing stuff, having someone to be a coordinator would be a great idea, but I don't know if they're going to approve this or not, but that would be something that would be on the agenda, and it would depend a little bit because there's a lot of stuff to be done. We're all volunteers. And I'm going to volunteer time, talking to people and trying to help out, but clearly to have something where there's a real plan, a commitment by the city council would be a great thing. I think it'd be great for the kids. And I'm just, this directly addresses some of the suicide issues and the drug issues, which are rampant in not only at the high school level, but also even younger in some cases. So that's why I'm more or less passionate on this subject. And it's one that if the council so disposes, would be an excellent project for goodwill for the city. And more importantly, help the people and the families and all these broken families that are dealing with horrible experiences, to give them a ray of hope. That was being.
Sounds like a really exciting program.
It is. It's a very.
I don't
exciting
know
program.
about budgeting a head count to have a facilitator, but if we don't ask, we don't get.
Yeah.
You know?
So maybe we should ask for, some sort of intermediary, but I'm figuring, okay, well, if they like the idea, maybe we can hit them up for, a little bit more, cashola to get the thing going, because it's going to take, this is not just something you just do. I mean, we have good intentions, but it's like all good intentions, they go nowhere unless you've got somebody ramrodding it, with a ball peen hammer, getting the damn thing done. And
well, I don't think we can ask for cashola later, so we need to put it in the work plan now. So let's discuss it as a group. What do you think it would take to have, some sort of maybe contracted help or some sort of facilitator?
I do a part-time contracted help, and probably have a budget no more than $50,000 a year.
I mean, this can be made up. I think it's mostly setup, right? Getting this off the ground. Once it's up and running, it can be as simple as a spreadsheet maintained, and it doesn't need to take a lot of any particular staff time. I don't expect it needs its own part-time person, and certainly not a full-time person. And knowing San Clemente is lean, and a lot of people are already wearing 2 or more hats, if somebody's got the bandwidth to just, oh, okay, we've got this list of businesses and skilled trades that are participating in this program, and we've been referred this young person. And they want to do this thing, talk to these people. It's not it doesn't seem that burdensome once it's set up.
I think
So what do you think?
Like Phil was saying, once it gets going, it kind of does itself. You just have to match people with the business. And I think we could also maybe combine it with that 6 through 12. Once we got the businesses, we could, maybe there's a potential there to combine those two. I don't know.
Amen. That's a good idea.
The best, you got to start early. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You could
For the
almost,
synergy,
what you
it
could
could
do is-
start with, oh, go ahead, Rosemary.
okay, you could list the businesses of what everyone's looking for, and then have the kids the students, so to speak, contact the business owners and let the business owners pick, right?
They may want some kind of input. I'm not sure. I guess
I have something to
reasonable
say on
thought.
that. I think if you
Please.
ask kids to contact businesses, it's very intimidating.
Okay.
Never
It
worked
is.
before, and you've never had a job. I do think we need to have some sort of facilitation. But to your point, I think it was you, Sherry, that made the point of Bill. Once that bridge is built, this can
Right.
be a type of program, and it'll feed on itself. But at the outset, it's getting it all started
Yes.
and
Mhm.
tracking it all and really doing it the right way to make it a very productive program.
Mhm.
Right.
Bringing both the programs, to my view, for the young people and then for the young adults, to have these same business people offer a quote unquote a day in the life,
Right.
and people are deciding what path they might be interested or something of that nature. It's almost like a mini preceptorship, right?
In a sense,
Yeah,
yes, in a sense, Lisa, but the one difference is going to be when we're working with the young people, we're going ethically, we're going to need a lot of parental involvement, because parents aren't going to turn their kids over to an adult.
Yeah.
And then when we're talking about the young adult cohort, there's a different level of seriousness involved.
Indeed.
And so you see, that's the difference. Even myself as a business owner, I don't know what I would do with a young person in this field, but there's going to be other fields, but that would almost be more like people coming and talking maybe about their jobs and giving the kids, the littler ones, a chance to experience it for a day. But there's a lot of similarity, but with these young adults, it might actually be like 3 months of a mentorship program.
Like an internship.
Yes,
And then you
yeah.
end up with the job with
Well,
them.
I was
Yeah.
thinking almost like an
Younger one.
apprenticeship program.
Wait,
Yes.
everybody's,
So
See the
um,
younger ones
I think
more
I
as
think
a-
the Venn diagram of
wait.
the
One
sorry.
person at a time. Sherry, what was your comment?
I see the younger ones as more of a shadow day or two
Mm-hmm.
versus the young adults is more of a mentorship and possibly they would get hired at that company.
Yeah.
Bill, what
Yeah.
was your comment?
Oh, just that I wonder if we should work the word apprenticeship in there somewhere. And that I think the actual programs for the younger kids in this program are very different in how they'd operate, and the kids that they would and the young people that they'd work with. I think the Venn diagram of the companies that would participate is a circle, right? I think those companies that participate in one would likely be good fits for the other in many cases. So I think this synergizes nicely with the other project in terms of the vendors that we'd use, right? The companies.
I think there's a
kids
lot
are in
more
totally different
buy-in.
buckets.
I think there's a lot more buy-in for the, when we look at the young adults, because the businesses are going to be actually getting real help for free while these people are learning the business. So
Well, it's like an internship.
yes. And I think the word apprenticeship seems to be more applicable to the trades because you have an apprenticeship, then a journeyman, then you become licensed.
Why don't we say internship?
I like the word better.
One thing I'd add in here, one of the things in terms of the government, there are various agencies like the firefighters, the police, our local sheriff's office, the Border Patrol, Marine Corps. There are so many outfits that are always looking for quality candidates, and just exposing kids to this sometimes leads them in a direction which could maybe give them some sort of real focus for what they could accomplish, because the studies are rampant that says the sooner kids have, the people who have goals in their life, especially young kids, are the ones that generally are successful ones. If you're like in 8th grade or 6th grade, you want to be an astronaut, they've done studies which indicates, or I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. They outperform those that don't ever have any goals. It's just, it's what goes on. And how do you get people interested in goals? Trigger an intellectual thought, spark an idea, boom.
I think many of us are very supportive of this. Why don't we go ahead and do a round robin vote on this?
Great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yay.
Tom?
Yay.
Thank you. I'm a yay. Bill?
I'm a yes on this.
Thank you. Nina?
Yes.
Thank you. Sherry?
Yes.
Thank you. Rosemary?
Yes.
Thank you. Michelle?
Enthusiastic, yes. Great job, everybody, on that.
Excellent. This is phenomenal.
Excuse me, Lisa, this is Janet. If I might recommend that you guys put a cost on your work plan, so if the council does approve the item, they would give you that money in the budget.
Thank
50,000.
you. It's there.
We had 10 or 12,000 initially on our work plan that we
Yes.
submitted because we were
Yes.
thinking that's what it would cost if we were
For
going to put an
advertising?
ad. Yeah.
Right.
Ask for more.
Okay.
They can-
I mean,
they can always
I
shoot you
don't
down.
know their budget and things. So
Yeah.
So I propose,
If they
I propose 12 to 15,000 on the chance that you want to hire a contractor. For example, it could be a college student, an hourly employee.
Yep.
Is the facilitator to coordinate all the details.
Right.
Yep.
And they get paid $15 an hour.
Mhm.
They work 10 hours a week on this. And they're the keeper of the keys to the kingdom regarding all the connections, which potential employers, businesses have been contacted, et cetera.
That's right.
And
And
they're submitted on a timely basis, just the day-to-day.
exactly. And we may be able to even hire one of the students from Saddleback and who's taking a business education AA degree, because they
Beautiful.
are looking for internships and they'd be motivated. And even as this
Beautiful.
person goes around to all the businesses, someone's going to snatch them up and say, wow, you're a
Bill, could you
motivated
please
young
add
person.
in- That's a brilliant idea, Nina. Bill, could you please add in terms of the anticipated costs, add in, if you would please, a part-time hourly project coordinator, or what words would you like to use? Someone who's work group.
I think part-time hourly project coordinator sounds pretty on the nose to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's add that in, if you would please, and let's ask for 15,000 flat, because nobody's going to complain if we don't use the money.
Right.
But it will provide for ample advertising as well
That'd be great.
as a part-time individual. And I'd like to say too, geo-targeting with Facebook for our local community is extremely inexpensive. We can use that money for geo-targeting to place ads that will pop up, for example, if somebody looks at any of the local San Clemente pages on Facebook, and you can do geo-targeting ads for as little as $250.
What's so interesting, Lisa and all of you, we're going to try and reach the business owners and the adults one way, maybe geo-targeting and Facebook, but the young people we have to reach on Instagram and maybe
Precisely.
Snapchat, and so it's
TikTok
a whole,
or whatever.
Yes, exactly. So, and
You
those
have to
are
go to
free.
your audience where they are and communicate with them in the way
For the younger kids, we can also use the school, San Clemente High, go to the high, and let them know
Yes.
we're rolling out this program.
Absolutely. And you know what? I could even see the committee, the subgroup, going and presenting it
Right.
to an
Really
assembled
cool.
group of students and say, hey, folks, here's what we have. It's an innovative new program. And, kids are really receptive if you present something that's interesting, right? And they think they can get out of it. They could be a very receptive audience.
Right.
It really, really could.
Well done on that one. That's a great one.
Oh,
This
thank
is
you so
something
much.
that we
Anything
may
you
want
wanted
to
to
try to
cover?
leverage. Well, I just think we should try to leverage the U.S. Department of Labor Job Corps program. I was a vendor for them several years ago at an old job, and it looks like the closest one is in Long Beach. They do maintenance and light repair, building construction technology, concrete masonry, a lot of construction-related trades, clinical, medical, pharmacy technician, nurse's assistant. A lot of interesting things. And this is a residency program. So a kid who's struggling and needs to kind of get a change of scenery and everything, something like this would be a great opportunity for them. I'm not knowledgeable at this time on who they target or how they make their selections, but I think that work group, perhaps as part of that work plan item, should look into that and see what it takes to get a person into that program.
That sounds great.
That's a great idea, Bill. Could you annotate that?
Yeah, I'll add a
Thank you.
note to that same
Thank
item
you.
about the Job Corps.
Please do. That's a really good little tidbit. Very helpful. Okay, Miss Nina, what's the next one you'd like to cover?
The next one was the mental health and substance use disorder work group.
That's exactly the order I had it in. I must have read your mind.
I'm
go
so
for it.
glad.
Would you
So,
like to present on behalf of your subgroup, Nina?
Michelle, do you want to present on this one? We can't hear you.
Yeah.
We can't hear you.
Sorry, I always have it on mute. Yeah, I totally can. So it's Nina, Tom, and I, and the project name is Mental Health and Substance Abuse Work Group Plan. Our purpose, goals, and deliverables are to provide support, education, resources, and referrals to families with recently diagnosed mental illness within their family unit for adult family members ages 18 to 65. And when Nina and I met, we talked a lot about this, and we both agreed that there's a lot of resources for kids under 18 and then seniors over 65. But we felt that age group of the newly diagnosed between like 18 and 22, when a lot of mental illness shows up in young adults, those families are receiving those diagnoses and maybe they don't have any support. And so we really wanted to target that age group of specifically between like of young adulthood all the way to before being a senior at 65. So we said we're first going to access the Family Resource Center for initial steps to obtain resources such as health insurance, psychiatric care, disability insurance, and any available social services that are available to the mentally ill. We thought we could access some community awareness speakers led by a licensed clinician on a monthly basis, offering education Q&A for specific help for families. Ongoing therapeutic support for the individuals and families is needed. Our estimated project cost would be maybe renting a small space, having a computer printer available for them, part-time employee to open the space, maybe just a few hours twice a week. We're going to look into joining the Czech Center in San Juan Capistrano. I put a call into them as soon as Nina and I met, and I just got a call back from the woman yesterday, and I was with my kids, so it wasn't an appropriate time to have that conversation. So I'm going to still be touching base with them. And then hopefully maybe some ongoing support by a licensed clinician and ongoing speakers. We aren't sure on the cost. We were thinking we're kind of going to leave that up to council. And we would love to begin immediately upon approval, and it would be an ongoing resource in the city, we hope. Resources needed, staff hours, we think we can handle that among our little small work group. And yes, it's a new project, which we're excited about. We think it's something the city is missing.
So
Michelle, could I
to kind of toss it around right now and attach a financial number to it? Because that to someone to assign you a budget, you're going to get a lot less than what you really think you might need.
And may I just make one more addition here? There's the whole concept of there's organizations called FRCs, or Family Resource Centers. They have one in Mission Viejo. They're usually every city has an FRC. The one, and I have one. I work here in San Juan. There's one across the street here called the Czech, CHEC, Family Resource Center. It's a very nicely kept office. They help people with all kinds of social services. Its services are on a snap, on a dime. And when Michelle and I our thought is, because the Czech Family Resource Center, their goal and their mission is to serve the neighboring cities, we were hoping that we could get a satellite site set up specifically for San Clemente to be a family resource center. And that would almost be the hub through which these services could pass through for these families that are trying to integrate when they've been, when they find that they have a family member who has a severe, chronic, persistent mental illness, that most likely it's going to be on their shoulders as they go through life to help this family member. So that was our thought. And Michelle says she just got a call back yesterday from the San Juan FRC. So we have yet to see how much, if they'd be willing to do a satellite location or what their suggestions might be.
And she did say that they partner with other cities. So they're definitely open to that.
Oh.
And where do we need to attach dollars to this in order? When's this going to be submitted to council ahead of the November 2nd meeting?
What would we be able to use the San Juan office since we're so close?
Yes, we could.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would lower the cost of this then, right? Versus having our own office.
Exactly,
Yes.
versus having to staff our own office. So I think we would partner with them and use that as our local families. But maybe then we just organize the speakers and that kind of thing.
So Janet, when does this work plan need to be finalized? Forgive me. When does this need to be finalized before it's sent to council?
November 2nd is the council meeting.
I'm
That is
sorry, I was
presented.
muted. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
November 2nd is the council meeting, and we'll need the staff report and the finalized work plan a week prior to that.
That's what I thought. So that would be.
We're under the gun
Like next
today to
Monday.
get this done.
Yeah.
Okay, I know. I'm just trying to give her a little bit of space.
So
Bill,
why don't we?
Oh, yeah. Well, we
Hang on,
can probably
I
make
want-
some
wait,
revisions
wait.
now.
Let me finish my thought, okay? And then the next person can talk. So if we have to have it in by Monday, October 25th, that gives you time, the remainder of this week, to
to
get
get the numbers.
down what we would want to put into the work plan for the requested funds is what I'm trying to get at. For the project, because we're going to need to attach some money to it, or we're not going to get money to fund this project. We're not going to let them give us money. We need to tell them
What we want.
we anticipate the costs to be. So could your subgroup please come back?
Sure,
Day, Monday, October 25th.
sure. Michelle and Tom, let's plan after today's meeting. Let's find another time we can identify and just put a little more meat on this bones and see what we really need. I think the main cost, like Michelle was saying, and if we can access the FRC here in San Juan, what we would really need is a space once a month to advertise a mental health clinician coming to offer education and raise community awareness. And that person themselves, that we're hoping they would do it for free, because ultimately it might build their own practice. But then again, maybe it's going to be hard to find someone if we don't attach any money for that. So
Okay, so
Is
you
this-
can give it some thought with your
We will.
subgroup and make a recommendation by and
Monday.
You know,
on
the one thing
October
is,
25th.
Saddleback
Okay, we will.
Church Saddleback Church provides mental health professionals, people who are trained for free for
Right.
church members.
Those aren't licensed clinicians, Tom. They're biblically oriented. I don't put it down at all, but these are not
There's
mental health
actually licensed
clinicians.
Ones that are referred out by them.
In order to be licensed, it's about a 10-year process. So typically they train a lot of lay counselors. They may hire one or
That's
two
true.
professionals.
My
I wonder if they'd let
experience
us
with
use the
them,
facility.
and I have experience, is they do have some professionally trained people that they refer out. And they have specific people that do volunteer that are highly trained in this area. So I haven't been associated with Saddleback that much lately, and I can definitely check out on it. But I'm not. You probably know a lot more about it than I do, but that's just my own experience.
Do you guys have a number of how many percentage, end up facing mental health? I know in the high school level and college, it's a lot of the drug use ends up turning into mental health issues.
It really does. I'll tell you that. It does. I get them in my practice all the time.
Mhm.
Okay. Hey, Bill, what was your comment? You were making
A couple of things. For one, like just on a kind of technical thing, the project name is Mental Health and Substance Abuse Work Group Plan, and this sounds like a very specific project that deserves a name of its own. So when you guys get to revise it, think of a good name for it.
a name.
But it sounds like it's very much. It could basically be a partnership with the FR Family Resource Center in San Juan Capistrano, and almost entirely something that they undertake with support from the city. For example, they could apply for some of the grants that will be appointing people to help designate recipients. So just with that knowledge, and I also know a licensed clinician who might be able to help with this too. We'll take that offline. But I think really almost letting the FRC lead the way on this item and maybe having a work plan item to collaborate with them on the possibility of opening up a San Clemente satellite one or 2 days a month, and to support that in whatever ways we can. I
think that was mentioned. So if you don't mind taking note of that, that would be great, Bill.
Okay, and Nina, I'll just send that to you.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you, Bill.
Perfect.
So then
Okay,
can we approve it contingent on partnering with FRC? Or do we have to come back and meet again to vote on it prior to November 2nd?
No, we're going to vote on it right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if we can, Janet, I think that is best to just pre-approve the yet to be amended work plan item for the mental health and substance abuse group. Can we do that?
I'm sorry, Bill, was that a question?
Yes,
I'll ask it.
Go
Janet.
ahead, Lisa. Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. I just want to clarify. So Janet, we need to attach some costs to this.
Yes.
Subgroup has been making phone calls. They're getting responses now. And we need a placeholder for the amount of money that the project is going to cost, and whether or not the partner organization would be open to us having a satellite in San Clemente for 1 day a month. So, and there would be a cost attached to that. So what we'd like to ask is whether we can provisionally approve this item pending those dollars attached to it, which will be submitted to me by Monday, October 25th, end of business, for inclusion in the final work plan that we submit to you that you're going to present to council before the November 2nd meeting. So the question is, can we provisionally approve this without the full cost added in yet?
I think that's up to you. I mean, if you feel comfortable approving it.
There's other revisions too, though.
Because it's not going to go to council until it has the amounts, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so I think that would be up to you, whether you feel comfortable with that in the work plan. If the amount comes out higher than you anticipated and you've already approved it, at that point, can you not approve it?
Well, that's a good. All righty. So what if there still needs, it's clear that there's more work that needs to be done here before it's finalized, but I really don't want to call another special meeting just to vote on this item. Jen, is there a way to submit the polished up item with the new name to the committee for everyone to review and then either vote yay or nay on without having another Zoom meeting?
I don't think so. I think it would have to be open to the public because everything you vote on
Good point.
Has to be aware of.
Okay, wait, so can we do this? So I'm sorry, because we didn't, I don't know how, budgets and stuff like that works with regards to something like this. So that's why we kind of said TBD. So I'm sorry if we're letting you guys down in that regard, but could we say something like to the cost of $2,500 a month? I'm thinking $250 per speaker, maybe 10 months out of the year. So could we all vote on that now, saying $2,500 a year to go towards speakers?
Okay, but then what about ongoing support by a licensed clinician? And if you want to have 1 day a month, a satellite offering in San Clemente, where would that be? Who's going to staff it? And is there a cost associated with that?
I almost think that should be done at a church or maybe FAM.
That could be FRC's information to provide also.
Or the existing FRC, right?
That's still a gap there for me that I don't know.
Right.
But that's going to look like or feel like, and if there's money attached to it, budget for it.
What do we think about amending it to an item to partner with the San Juan Capistrano Family Resource Center with the goal of establishing a 1 or 2 day a month satellite office and request a budget for that? That leaves all the details kind of in the FRC's hands. And
where would we do the satellite? Where would we do the satellite in San Clemente?
I don't know why
I'm not
we would
even
want
sure
to pick.
we would need it because they're so close to us that, and I think it could just be done there.
I feel
Why
like
don't we scrap that and then go with Michelle's suggestion of the money to fund the speakers?
Yeah.
And let's just tap into joining Czech because they said that they do that. So I think that would be the plan.
Yeah.
And they may give us the space to hold the speaker and the meetings. And San Clemente and San Juan are side by side. So it's a 10-minute drive at most.
Exactly. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. So we'd like to join forces with an existing organization. We have it right next door. So can we just say $2,500 a year?
Nina, do you do any counseling for them?
No, typically I send people over to them all the time. But, and in the past, many, many years ago, I worked with at a family resource center in Mission Viejo, where a nonprofit organization used space on Monday nights and Thursday nights for a grief group for children. So I don't even think we paid for the space because the city was supporting the Family Resource Center.
Mhm.
So are there enough details in this item right now, everybody, for you to vote on, or does anyone have any additional details that you'd like to see added in?
I fear that I love the 2,500. I think it's great to pay for the speaker, but I suspect there may be some other costs. I don't know, but I just don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot. Maybe we should ask for more. And then if we have, I just don't know. They may want us to pay for space at the San Juan Family Resource Center. I don't know. And if they do, I'd hate to not be able to take advantage of it.
So rather than call another special meeting, so it's publicly promoted and agendized and all of that, can we?
Why don't we ask for 5,000 so that if they
That's
want,
exactly, you're reading my mind. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
let's do that.
So, yeah, let's pump it up by 5,000 in case there's a cost attached to partnering with existing organizations in San Juan. Fair enough?
So is it
That
is it
sounds great.
basically request $5,000 for a speaker series in partnership with FRC?
The speaker series,
Speaker series and extra costs, be it we'll just say $5,000 for additional costs to be determined. Can we say that?
Is that in addition to the 250 per
No,
speaker
total.
or inclusive? Okay.
Total.
I think that sounds perfectly agreeable to me if
Okay.
that's something you guys are satisfied with.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. And I have a feeling it's going to be very beneficial. I hope we're all okay with this, but maybe the San Juan Center will want to invite San Juan people as well, because the offering might be so good.
Absolutely. Okay.
okay.
Thank you, guys.
Do we have enough detail on this right now, with the exception of a better name? Because it is such a great program. Do you think you can come up with a different name for it?
We can come up with a name for it by Monday. You said by the end of
Yes.
the workday. Okay,
Yes,
we'll give you a
please.
name.
Thank
Do
you.
No.
We need to
Excuse me,
vote
this
on
is
it, so
Janet.
maybe we just call it Mental Health and Substance Abuse Speaker Series.
No, how about mental health and substance abuse support?
Is that what it does, or is it a speaker series?
Well, we really weren't addressing substance abuse support because there's already
Okay.
so much out there for substance abuse. And honestly, the mental health component really does get overlooked. That was our
Okay.
thinking.
So a
How about
mental health
mental
speaker
health
series?
resources and support group.
Love it.
Love it.
Look at that. Now we have a name.
Is that what it is though, or I guess are they going to be working with residents?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great, super. Then that's what it is. Mental health. What do you call it? Resource support group.
Resources and
Support
support.
group.
Resources and support group, because
And
it's
support
both
group.
separately.
And then the cost is $5,000. And it's speaker fees and partnership vegetarian allocation.
That's good, Lisa.
Because that's exactly what it's for.
Yeah.
And then if we don't need it, we don't need it. We don't, because we have it.
But where is, what work group is gonna cover, substance abuse then?
Need one for substance abuse?
Oh, there's so much. There's already so much out there. And again, there's so much. Treatment
Okay.
centers and Medi-Cal and psychiatrists and
Saying it's not necessary.
because
Okay.
you can get referrals from the Family Resource Center as well. So much of substance,
Microsites. I'm just plugging in my.
put it on your microsites. So much of the
That could be one
substance
of our
abuse.
microsites, Bill. Part of one of the microsites, right?
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
That's
there
a
we go.
great idea.
So that
List the
addresses
resources.
Nina's
Thank you.
point about and see, look at that. We're trying to educate ourselves and we don't even know about it.
So that would be great.
We're a
love it.
microcosm of our community.
Mhm.
There are numerous resources available that Nina knows all about and we don't know anything about them. What if you were,
Yeah.
it's a mental health issue and you were looking for help, you would have no idea where to go.
And I'll tell you this, most of the families aren't able to afford what most of the therapists in this area charge. They're like at 150, 175, 200 an hour. And the families are like,
You're trying to pay your rent. You're not spending $200 an hour.
exactly. So yeah, I could help with some microsites. I know specific treatment centers that are free, some that take Medi-Cal. It's all in here because it's what I live, eat, and breathe every day. So
That is
anyway.
vastly helpful.
Cool.
And
Lisa, I may have to sign off.
Depending upon, okay. Let's
But
vote quickly. I'm guessing you're a yes vote. I don't want to assume anything. Vote on this one. Tom.
Yes.
Your name. Yes. Okay. I'm a yes. Nina.
Yes.
Excellent. Sherry. Thank you. Bill.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Rosemary.
Yes.
And I think we lost Marcel, so that's a vote. A six vote yes.
For the no time sending, just to verify, this is work plan project mental health resources and support group requesting a budget of $5,000.
Correct.
For I'll need the details, I guess, but Nina, you know that, so I'll send you the note here, and we'll you can get it to Janet. They were discussed, so I think we satisfied the public meeting requirement.
Excuse me if I can just interrupt for a second. We've got 30 minutes left of the recording. So the meeting was limited to 3 hours. So
we're almost finished.
Okay.
Children and families with special needs subgroup. Who would like to speak from that group?
Sherry, did you want to speak to that, or Rosemary?
Sure, I can speak to it.
Hey, Sherry, we can't hear you.
Your audio is kind of muffled.
Okay,
If neither,
why don't you go ahead, Bill?
Do I sound okay? If I'm,
Yeah,
you're
okay,
fine. Clear, Bill. Go for
it. This work group was really exciting to be a part of, and I'm really excited about the items that we came up with. And yeah, so I guess I'll start at the top here. The first project name is to develop a special needs resource guide, similar to a Temecula example that is linked to here in the work plan, or draft work plan. The purpose is to develop an easy-to-use, attractive resource guide for San Clemente residents and families. The goals are, the Children and Families with Special Needs Work Group will work with stakeholders, the public and private organizations to assemble a resource similar to the one prepared by the City of Temecula, and that's where the link is. The deliverables say at council's option, either a digital proof for final council approval, or if approved, a resource guide would be prepared in both print and digital forms. This also has a to be determined cost line. We've reached out to a staff member at Temecula who handles this, but we've not heard back yet on what that program costs. If any of you are knowledgeable about print costs, we can slot that in as a number for now. If it's digital, I think we should get a budget unless any of us are particularly skilled with graphic design, and just plan to pay for some kind of professional putting up that guide together. I have no idea what that costs either. So if staff or any other members have any guidance on that, we can slot that in this cost. The proposed timeline is actually to have this done by March of next year, because March is a month where a lot of focus is put on people with disabilities. This is a new project for this year. The next item is a community resource fair. The purpose is to set up a potentially annual resource fair to be held on a to be determined date during the month of March at a city park, at which booths or tables would be hosted by local and regional nonprofit and commercial entities that serve disabled residents. The fair is to have themes of awareness, education, and inclusivity. Temecula has an event that can be used as a reference model for this item. The goals are to partner with an appropriate nonprofit and coordinate, potentially in partnership with Parks and Rec Committee, the resource fair described above. And the deliverable is simply that resource fair would be held prior to April 2022. This is something that I thought could conceivably be supported with CDBG funds, if that is approved and if we find an appropriate nonprofit to partner with and make that request. But other than that, I don't believe it's in the city budget. The next item is a delightfully simple one. It is light up Del Mar and or the pier for awareness. There are specific days, many during the month of March, that are designated as awareness days of many disabilities and health conditions. December 3rd is Adults with Disabilities Day. The goals say, in order to increase awareness and the one town, one team spirit in the city, we propose lighting up Del Mar and or the pier in appropriate colors to represent recognition of these dates and the residents that they are for. Burgundy on December 3rd and blue and yellow on appropriate dates in March. The deliverables say a simple but charming events that facilitate goodwill and inclusivity. I don't expect there's a substantial cost to that. If the pier and Del Mar need like the kind of lights that can do different colors on command, that may be one budget item that would be needed. If anybody knows what those cost, we can slot that in there. But aside from that, I do have a note that this can be partially funded potentially by companies, you know, that rent tables at the resource fair, or that, oh, that's for the above one. But companies can also sponsor this event if they're so inclined. And that is it for the Children and Families with Special Needs subgroup.
Could you define special needs?
I'm not really qualified to do that. I guess I would leave that to the people who do it professionally. Sorry.
Rosemary, we can't hear you.
Does anybody have a clear definition of what this special needs includes?
I expect anyone with like a developmental or disability, or one that, I mean, something like that.
Cognitive, you know, I don't know. Again, that would be cognitive, you know, mental health. I mean, that's considered a disability too.
We could also look more into so we have the Temecula model that is fantastic. They have a program out there right now that runs really, really well. We could look into that and find out how they define that. You know, if they define that, but they have many programs that are specific to special needs, and we just didn't feel like we had anything here in San Clemente specifically for that. But the model that we are looking at through the city of Temecula, I'm sure they've been asked the same kind of questions, and you could you know, delve into that a little bit deeper if this is something we want to move forward. I mean, it's kind of hard to
it looks like in their model that they, in the kind of example we're using, that they do reference specific disabilities and diagnoses.
Mhm.
But whether how closely we want to adhere to that, I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
it's just a very charming and I hope effective. Sherry,
You say special needs.
I think that's what it says.
That's what it says.
Yeah. Yeah, paving the way for youth with special needs is what that says.
I guess, and I haven't personally, you know, all the time that I've lived in San Clemente since 1985, I've never seen anything that's specifically been for the special needs community, or any kind of, I have a special needs nephew. And so, you know, when he's here, it's very difficult to find events and things for him specifically to do. And so, you know, we were thinking about this where there's a lot of families in San Clemente, and we were also going to try and find out maybe what that number was or is, you know, that would be benefited by having special days for special needs children, for maybe a swimming event, or, you know, down at the aquatic center, or, you know, there's just a lot of different, maybe it's a trick or treat on Del Mar, you know, because unless you have that experience with a child that has special needs, you don't really know the challenges and difficulties that incur, you know, on a day-to-day basis. And having families that are with you that are going through the same type of thing where they can understand, you know, the nuance, what's going on. It's just very, very enlightening for and uplifting for the family. And I just didn't think we had anything like this in San Clemente that I'm aware of.
You've come up with some really terrific ideas. My only input, there's a lot of TBD on resources. And I'm wondering if we can take a stab at assigning some sort of a cost or, you know, budget to it for submission purposes, because TBD is kind of squishy. And I don't know
I
if
agree.
we got money or resources if it's a TBD.
I'm
I mean, I think
proud to say this was one of the first work groups that met. So we didn't have as a firm of grasp of some of the things that would need to be included.
Sure.
But like Sherry mentioned, there are a couple of events already that we do in the city, businesses that have, you know, I think there's like a special swimmers event where kids with special needs can use a pool facility, something like that. But this would both shine a light on those things and, you know, hopefully create some more. So,
yeah, so I would
and
say
if we go digital, it really shouldn't cost too much at all. I think if we ask for $1,000, maybe $2,000 for graphic design support, we can get that done. And then if the print guide is desired by a council later, they'd have the option to allocate funds as needed.
Mm-hmm.
so for a budget, I mean, if we like say like on the second one about lighting up Del Mar, you know, I'm sure right now they already have white light bulbs. Maybe they need burgundy light bulbs. You know, how much does that cost? A couple $100, $300? I don't know. You know, maybe that's like a $500 per color, you know, fee. I don't know. I would say maybe if we would put something similar to the mental health one, you know, $3,000 to $5,000, and then we use it, we don't. We do, we don't.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that when I was in the Army, the sunglasses I was issued were like $150. So things just seem to cost more in the government, right? We might want to pad the light bulb budget number appropriately in light of that. But I think that that's something that could be considered partially in the city budget if they plan to replace light bulbs anyway. Why, you know, a little extra money, replace them with smart bulbs where, you know, the city manager from an app on his phone can change the colors of the lights on Del Mar. I think it's a charming idea. And the city it could be green on St. Patrick's Day. I mean, we could have a lot of fun with this as a city, right? It's
for breast cancer awareness.
Sure, yeah. It could be a really broadly used and
like LAX,
charming thing.
When they changed the entrance of LAX for different special events.
Or maybe they're not bulbs, maybe they're a spotlight. Like maybe you light up a certain thing with a spotlight, you know, one big one. Like
City Hall.
Temecula lights up City Hall, right? They light up.
No, you just said the same thing, right?
Yeah, and
but
then, you know,
our city hall's in like a business park.
Yeah, but I mean, I was just using that as an example.
Sure.
You know, but
the community center.
Plus, if you do light up, you know, if you do buy these lights, you know, they're not a one-time use either. So, you know, that's something to think about too, unless they are cheap bulbs and they burn out after one night. But, you know, I would think that if that might be a one-time cost for a certain amount of time. But I just feel like there's just not enough awareness and things for families to turn to in the city that have special needs.
Do you guys think 5,000 is enough to do one, the other, or both of Del Mar and the Pier to equip them with color changing light bulbs?
It's a great start, Bill.
Okay. If that winds up not being enough, they can certainly be like, okay, well, we'll get more and they'll appropriate from there. So, okay, we can slot that in for the TBD here. And then did we get to any numbers on the resource fair?
Hi, this is Janet. If I may, you had mentioned that it potentially could be funded with CDBG funds. There's certain criteria. So I don't believe it could be unless it's benefiting low and moderate income persons, meeting an urgent need, or aiding in the prevention or elimination of slums or blight. Like that's the 3 objectives of CDBG funding. So I
expect a disproportionate number of families with kids with special needs might be low income. I'm not sure of that, but I just wonder. And I think we had, it might have been under the general fund category of grant applications, but didn't we have a city event or two? There was like a fun run or something that had been funded through those grants in the past. This is not like that.
CDBG funds,
Exactly.
yes. But that was for low income students, I believe.
Maybe the resource fair is too much of a reach right now. But Rosemary, Sherry, other members of the work group, what are your thoughts on that? Do you want to keep the light up in the resource guide and maybe
Well,
table
could we, I know I just saw a job fair at the outlets where they allowed people to set up booths. Maybe we could do something like that there, where it's on the vendors, I don't, wouldn't be a cost to anybody.
I like that idea a lot. That's great. Do you want to change this to Human Affairs Committee Special Needs Work Group to reach out to the outlets and try to see if they support something like that?
Mm-hmm.
We can make it almost pretty much a no cost item.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a note to amend that accordingly.
Okay, so pending that amendment, why don't we go ahead and vote?
Just for to keep it proper, let's just kind of read off what I expect it'll be after the change.
Okay. Sure.
So for the community resource fair work plan item, the special needs work group to reach out to owners and management of the San Clemente outlets to see if they would have interest in supporting an event comparable to the Temecula Community Resource Fair. And that work group to, if the outlets approve and if they'll support it, the work group to then help reach out to potential vendors and resources that would participate.
Mm-hmm.
No cost. The goal and deliverable would be that resource fair at the outlets. Does that sound like it covers
that
what we're
sounds
talking
right.
about?
Yeah,
perfect. Perfect.
I think so.
Lisa, if you'll call the roll, then I think we're ready.
I'll get right on it, Bill. Okay. Named Special Needs Resource Guide, similar to the Temecula example. I'll start with Tom.
Nay.
Nay?
Nay.
Okay. I'm a yay. Sherry?
Yay.
Bill?
I'm a yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Okay, passes with 41. And then the next one is the amended community resource fair to approach the outlets, conduct it there, etc. I'm not using the proper verbiage because I don't have it in front of me. I don't have Bill's edited verbiage in front of me, but we know what we're talking about, correct? So Tom, yay or nay?
What are we voting on here? Just so I can understand this. There's a resource fair at the outlets?
Yes. For special needs individuals and their families with themes of awareness, education, and inclusivity, resources available, and so forth, similar to a job fair, but focusing on special needs resources.
Yay.
That correctly, committee?
Yes.
Yay.
Thank you. I'm a yes. Sherry?
Yes.
Thank you, Bill.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Rosemary?
Yes.
Thank you. Passes with a 5-0 approval. And last but never least, senior issues and elder care subgroup.
I'm sorry, Lisa, did we do the roll on the lights?
I'm sorry, Bill. Keep me straight. I'm starting to get hangry. Okay.
Yay.
Lights project. Okay. Thank you, Tom. Tom is a yay.
No, I said no.
Oh, you said no.
No.
Okay. I'm a yes. Sherry?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Rosemary?
Yes.
Thank you. 4-1.
And what does that leave us with?
Last but not least, senior issues and elder care subgroup.
All right.
And you have 10 minutes left.
Bigger
Well, let's go through, Bill, can you read these real quick? I don't have them in front of me, but this should be.
I'll do
quick.
it quick. Let me
Okay,
do it.
go
'cause
real
I
quick.
have it
Yeah,
right
you
in
do it,
front of me
Lisa.
very quickly. Okay. The Adopt a Senior Program Promotion. Dorothy Visser Senior Center every holiday season funds a program for shut-in seniors. They serve 200 different seniors who are shut-ins during the holiday time. And this is a no-cost program designed to promote their pre-existing program, encourage community member participation, publish a link on our city website, and then promote via city social media. So it's no cost. It's tagging on to support the Dorothy Visser Adopt a Senior program at the holiday time. No cost to us. They're promoting it currently. So we're just tagging on to what they're doing.
We're helping them promote what they're already doing. We're just giving them an extra boost.
Correct. And the second one is attract them back. So the seniors post-COVID that used to come to the Dorothy Visser Senior Center don't. And it could be because they're depressed, because they're afraid of getting sick. There are a myriad of different reasons, but Rosemary contacted Beth Apodaca, who very capably leads at the Dorothy Visser Senior Center. And she said, that's a huge challenge, is getting the seniors back into the location. So what our work group came up with is a number of different programs. We would like to conduct 3 to 4 separate events. The seniors that access resources at the Dorothy Visser Senior Center will sign up ahead of time, and they're interactive events designed to have the seniors come and gather in a COVID safe environment to do a number of different things. Arts and crafts are very popular. We thought of a make your own holiday ornament program where, you know, it can be fired and bisqued off for them and they come away with an ornament. A cookie decorating, maybe with sugar blossom, they come in. And so we have community members come in and help us lead these events for the seniors. The cost for supplies and so forth is $25 each to do these types of programs. 200 people won't attend every single event, but our thinking is if we can attract a senior to one event or 2 events, the max cost would be $5,000 in the budget. So we're talking about a painting event, make your own holiday ornament event, cookie decorating event, maybe a walk around Del Mar event where, you know, someone from anytime comes and leads a walk through Del Mar and talks about the Ole Hansen house and the architecture and, you know, a number of the different beautiful landmarks in our community, but gets everybody out in the air, in the fresh air, walking, enjoying our town and having them realize that it's not scary and they have something to look forward to. And perhaps via these events, they can move forward with other meet and greets and they'll be more apt to go back to the senior center.
I think I just want to say that these are awesome. I put your guys' names up here because I'm very impressed with the work done by this work group. These sound absolutely awesome, and you can count on my support for both.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you very much. We care about all of our community members. We care about our at-risk youth, our at-risk 20-somethings, folks suffering from mental health challenges, homelessness, and our disenfranchised, lonely, depressed elders that are, you know, concerned about leaving their homes. So as a committee, I think we've really come up with some pretty terrific ideas, but let's get through this and then I'll close the meeting because we have 9 minutes. Okay, so the Adopt a Senior program promotion, us promoting what Dorothy Visser Senior Center is already doing for the holiday Adopt a Senior Program. Tom?
Yes.
No, thank you. I am a yes. Sherry?
Yes.
Thank you. Bill?
I'm a yes.
Thank you, sir. Rosemary?
Yes.
Thank you. And then the second one, attract them back. So the various different events, or 3 to 4 different events, and this is with the Council of Beth Apodaca and the agreement, but various different events, whether it's painting, cookie decorating, ornament, walk around Del Mar, whatever the events may be. We'll hone in on that with the Dorothy Visser Senior Center. That's a tongue twister. Dorothy Visser Senior Center people. And the max cost is $5,000 that we're going to request from the budget. Tom, yea or nay?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm a yes. Sherry?
Yes.
Thank you. Bill?
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Rosemary?
Yes.
Thank you. So that passes unanimously with those present. Excellent. Well, boy, oh boy, we have gone through a load of information today. Bill, I have notes. I have vote counts. If you need anything as you're compiling this, please do reach out and we can put together a polished, finished version.
Lisa, let's you and I just compare notes after this, if your schedule permits, and that way we can get something to Janet that's got everything.
And Bill, I will reach out to my friend at Santa Margarita High School and get the exact costs of what was else involved besides what the highway patrol grant we got. I know it was minimal, but I'll get you those numbers.
Okay. I think let me just check my note on that. I think the biggest issue might just be that the school has to apply. That's what my note says. So,
Okay.
Yeah, the rest of that can go to the school, I guess, the details. But, awesome. All right.
Okay. All righty. Well, I think we are
done.
Yes, we called through a vast amount of information. The subgroups did a lot of hard work and a lot of research. So thank you all for giving up your nights, weekends, early mornings, all your time on the computer, all your research, making phone calls, taking meetings, etc. We greatly appreciate it. We will have a polished version to you, Miss Janet, by
tomorrow.
That's right. Because Bill and I are going to get back on the phone.
By
Bill,
Friday,
big meeting there.
Beg your pardon? Oh, that's a happy
So cute.
face.
So
What a
I
handsome grandbaby. Oh my. Sorry?
I have some communication from staff I'd like to share real quick.
Yes, please.
Regarding the adjourned meeting on November 30th, located at Wedgewood Room at the golf course. So the meal that's going to be served is the 5 cheese pesto parmesan, but if you would like a vegetarian meal, let me know. Also, the chair will be expected to provide a brief 2 to 3 minute max update on the committee's activities. Yes.
Will there be wine at this event? No.
That I don't know.
I'm teasing. No.
Yeah.
So 2 to 3 minute update. I can handle 2 to 3 minutes.
A brief.
I'm sorry, Lisa. I've got to jump off right now. I've got to go pick someone up.
Yes. And I will tell you, we're nearing the end of the meeting. So thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Working with all of you on our items. Excellent work. Thank you.
Our
next regular meeting is December 14th, 2021
Hang on.
at the Aquatic Center, Friends Meeting Room.
Lisa, can I move to adjourn to the Joint Council and Commission Committee meeting to be held on November 30th?
Yes, thank you.
Second.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Aye.
Well done.
Bye, everyone.
Well done, everybody. Thank you. Bye.